You whine that life is trash because you set goals like total losers. I will show you the secret of the Tibetan lamas. The voice from the smartphone speaker cracked like a whip through the suffocating silence of the kitchen. Mark stared at the screen, where a slick, tan life coach in a bespoke suit preached about energy flows and universal abundance. Then, Mark slowly shifted his heavy, bloodshot eyes to the wall in front of him. There it hung. His vision board. A glossy, toxic altar of his own personal hell, plastered with magazine clippings. A pristine 3-deck yacht, the keys to a matte black Porsche, thick stacks of $100 bills, and a photograph of a flawless couple smiling on a Maldivian beach. Every single morning, that board looked down on him and sucked the last drops of marrow from his bones. Mark looked down at the table. Next to a mug of sour, cold instant coffee lay a final disconnect notice from the electric company, stamped in aggressive red ink. His life was a rotting, festering landfill. He was 34, a senior sales manager whose credit card debt grew faster than his hairline receded, and his stomach was knotted in a chronic, burning spasm of stress. He lived for massive, world-altering goals. He tore his own veins open working for that yacht on the wall, but in reality, he could not even afford new brake pads for his rusting, 10-year-old sedan. He felt like an absolute, irredeemable zero. The phone vibrated against the cheap laminate table. It was his boss, Richard. Mark flinched as if he had been struck, his thumb hesitating before swiping to answer. Mark, where the hell is the logistics contract? Richard's voice roared through the receiver, dripping with contempt. Do you understand we are losing millions because of your pathetic hesitation? If that deal isn't closed by noon, you can pack your desk. Your big ambitions mean nothing without results. The line went dead. A cold lump of sheer panic expanded in Mark's chest, pressing against his lungs. He could not breathe. He was drowning. He made his first desperate attempt to fix the situation, squeezing his eyes shut and aggressively visualizing the Porsche, trying to force the law of attraction to work. It only made his head throb with a sickening pressure. The universe was not answering. Suddenly, the phone chimed with a text message. It was from his wife, Sarah. Mark read the words, and the floor seemed to drop out from beneath him. I am exhausted by your manic obsessions and your fake promises of millions. I am packing my bags. I will be gone by the time you get home tonight. A suffocating weight crashed down on his shoulders. The central conflict was clear. His own mind, poisoned by a toxic cult of success, was demanding immediate perfection while his actual life crumbled into dust. An unbearable choice stood before him. He could walk over to the 9th floor window, open it, and finally step out, surrendering to the crushing depression and ending the humiliating race he was always losing. Or, he could grab onto the absurd, nonsensical lifeline that the YouTube algorithm had just spat at him. The coach on the paused video was still smiling. Mark hit play. To restore your energy in 24 hours, do not strive for a perfect life. Normalize 5 factors: health, wealth, relationships, mind, and purpose. Live just one perfect day. The Lama's daily goals are simple: have strong health, have enough money not to think about it, have beautiful relationships, possess a calm mind, and bring value to the world. Mark clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. One day. He had to fix his entirely ruined existence in a single span of 12 hours, or his wife would leave forever and his boss would destroy his career. The choice was made. He would live this day flawlessly. He would execute this Tibetan protocol perfectly. But as he stared at the yacht on his vision board, the trap snapped shut. In his feverish, desperate brain, the concepts of peace and harmony mutated into brutal, corporate key performance indicators. A manic, diseased light ignited in his eyes. He would tear his perfect day out of the throat of the universe, even if he had to break his own spine to do it. Mark grabbed a thick red marker and wrote directly on the wallpaper next to his vision board, "Perfect day." Goal 1, health and mind, meditate 1 hour plus green detox. Goal 2, wealth, force the $5 million contract today. Goal 3, relationships, perfect romantic dinner, make Sarah stay. Goal 4, a purpose, become the ultimate office mentor. The clock was ticking. His personal experiment in forced salvation had begun. Item 1. Health and a calm mind. Mark dropped onto the hard kitchen floor, folding his stiff legs into a lotus position. A sharp, shooting pain ripped through his knees, and his lower back screamed, but he forced himself to sit completely still. "Calm down, you piece of trash, find your zen," he mentally screamed at himself. He tried to take deep breaths, but behind his closed eyelids, bloody red numbers of his debts danced wildly with the image of Sarah's packed suitcase. Every second of the meditation was physical torture. After 40 agonizing minutes, he leaped up, feeling infinitely more exhausted and violently aggressive. He threw spinach, a limp stalk of celery, and a bruised apple into the blender. He chugged the foul, chunky green sludge in one gulp. His stomach convulsed, and bile burned the back of his throat as he fought off the urge to vomit. Check. Perfect health achieved. He drove to the office, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his fingers went numb. Item 2, wealth, so as not to think about money. To not think about money, he needed to make it. Now. He stormed into his cubicle, ignoring his co-workers, snatched the desk phone, and dialed the logistics client. His voice rang with an unnatural, metallic tension. He pushed, he manipulated, he demanded a signature immediately. The client on the other end went silent, then spoke with freezing detachment. "You know, Mark, your desperation and aggression are crossing a line. We are withdrawing our bid entirely. There is no deal." Click. The deal was did. A cold sweat broke out across Mark's forehead. He frantically opened his banking app, staring at a pathetic balance of $42. In a spasm of irrational control, he transferred $20 from his checking to his savings account. His hands were shaking violently. Item 3, relationships. He opened a delivery app and maxed out his final, emergency credit card on a platter of premium oysters and expensive candles. He texted Sarah, "We will have beautiful relationships tonight. I bought oysters and candles. Be home exactly at 7:00 p.m. We are harmonizing our marriage." It read like a ransom demand. There was no reply. Item 4, purpose. Mark sprinted into the office corridor, his eyes darting around wildly for a victim to help. He spotted a young, terrified intern struggling with a jam paper tray at the main printer. Mark lunged at him. "Step aside, let me show you how a professional does it. I am your mentor, I bring value." Mark snarled, shoving the kid out of the way and violently yanking the hot toner cartridge. With a sharp crack, the cheap plastic snapped. A massive cloud of toxic black toner dust exploded outward, coating Mark's white dress shirt, his face, and the intern. The kid coughed violently, wiping black sludge from his eyes, and yelled, "Are you out of your mind?" The entire office floor stopped and stared at Mark with sheer, unadulterated disgust. Evening. The apartment. Mark stood in the center of the kitchen. His shirt was ruined with black, greasy stains. The expensive oysters were sitting in the sink, growing warm and emitting a sickening, briny stench. 3 cheap candles flickered on the table. His right eyelid twitched uncontrollably. The front door unlocked. Sarah walked in. She froze in the doorway, staring at the psychotic performance art before her, the manic red lists on the wallpaper, the black dirt on his face, the rotting seafood, and Mark, vibrating with tension, wearing a terrifying, forced smile. "Mark, are you completely insane?" she asked softly, not taking off her coat. "We are harmonizing. I set the Tibetan goals," he shrieked, his voice cracking. "I am doing everything perfectly. Why are you ruining my perfect day?" "You are sick," she whispered with a look of profound pity and revulsion. She grabbed her pre-packed suitcase from the hallway and walked out, closing the door quietly behind her. Mark was left alone. The silence in the room was deafening. He grabbed a heavy glass candle holder from the table and, with a primal, agonizing roar, hurled it directly at his vision board. The glass shattered, tearing a jagged hole straight through the paper yacht. The spiral of failure had compressed until it broke his spine. He had wanted to become enlightened and rich in 12 hours, and instead, he had annihilated the very last remnants of his life. Mark slid down the wall and collapsed onto the floor, landing right in the middle of the shattered glass. Sharp edges bit into his palms, but he was too numb to care. Nausea crept up his throat, choking him. He shifted his hollow gaze from the torn yacht to the ripped red list of his perfect goals. He wanted to scream until his vocal cords snapped, but he had no breath left. What had he done wrong? He had followed the instructions. He had squeezed every ounce of effort out of his soul. With trembling, toner-stained fingers, he pulled his phone from his pocket. He found the video in his watch history. He had to understand where the system failed. He hit play, listening to the slick coach's voice echo over the ruins of his kitchen. Usually we set maximum goals, desiring huge and massive things, and as a result, we experience deep dissatisfaction and feel like total losers. The secret is to set true goals. To have enough money not to think about it. To have a calm mind. At the end of the day, your brain will register a moment of success. And then, a jolt of electricity shot through Mark's spine. The words suddenly rearranged themselves into a completely different, horrifying pattern. The cruel, mocking truth revealed itself, stealing the air from his lungs. The secret of the llamas was not to become a superhuman machine and earn $1 million in 24 hours. The secret was the radical, merciless narrowing of expectations. His antagonist was never his boss, or his poverty, or his wife. His antagonist was his own toxic ambition. His greed for success had tricked him. He had tried to achieve Zen and peace using the exact same weapon that had destroyed his life: force, hustle, and perfectionism. An epiphany struck him. For a brief, insane second, he thought he had found the loophole. He understood the rules of the game. He scrambled up from the floor, smearing a drop of blood on his slacks. "Exactly," he whispered feverishly. "I just took on too large of a scale. I need micro goals. I will micromanage my simplicity." He grabbed a fresh sheet of paper and began frantically scribbling a new plan for the rest of the night. Micro-goal 1. Meditate for exactly 60 seconds. Micro-goal 2. Take out a payday loan for $500 to pay the electric bill so I don't think about money today. Micro-goal 3. Spam Sarah with 50 apology texts so she knows I care. I can still save this day. I can still win. He dove into executing the new plan. He opened a predatory loan app. He filled out the forms with shaking thumbs. He hit submit. He waited 30 seconds. A red cross flashed on the screen. Application denied. Credit score insufficient. He gasped for air. He opened his messaging app and started typing a desperate, pleading essay to Sarah. He hit send. A tiny notification popped up, message failed to deliver. You have been blocked by this user. The trap slammed shut. His poison brain had weaponized his epiphany against him. He was still trying to plan and control reality. He had turned the concept of letting go into just another rigid KPI he had to meet at all costs. The antagonist inside his head was laughing at him. An invisible steel cable wrapped around his ribcage and pulled tight. His heart began to hammer with such violent velocity that it physically hurt his chest. The oxygen in the room vanished. Black spots swarmed his vision. He dropped to his knees, clutching his shirt. A massive panic attack crashed down on him with the weight of a falling building. He writhed on the floor among the broken glass and the stench of dead oysters, hyperventilating, drool slipping from his lips. He was completely, utterly bankrupt. Morally, financially, and humanly. He had reached the absolute bottom of the abyss. There was nowhere left to fall. He closed his eyes and let the darkness swallow him whole. Morning. A cold, grey light filtered through the dirty kitchen blinds. Mark opened his eyes. He was alive. He was still lying on the floor. His body felt incredibly light, filled with a hollow, ringing emptiness, like the aftermath of a severe, days-long fever. The panic was gone. The anxiety was gone. The burning desire to fight, to prove himself to the universe, was completely dead. The fire had burned itself out. He slowly sat up. His eyes fell on his dead phone lying in the dust. No plans. No red markers. No hustle. Down here, at the absolute bottom where he had nothing left to lose and nothing left to protect, a piercing, crystalline clarity washed over him. The true realization blinded him with its simplicity. He stood up, his joints popping, and walked over to the sink. He turned on the tap and filled a cheap glass with regular, cloudy tap water. He took a sip. The cool liquid washed down his dry throat. He listened to his body. Nothing hurt in this exact second. He was breathing. He was not dying. Have strong health, the Lama's goal echoed in his mind. He wasn't running a marathon. He wasn't drinking a detox smoothie. He just drank water and felt alive. That was enough. Check. He got dressed and walked out into the crisp morning air. He did not look at his banking app. He physically deleted the icons of every bank from his phone screen. He reached into his coat pocket and found exactly 3 crumpled dollar bills. It was exactly enough for the bus ride to the office and back. Today, he would not buy a latte. Today, he would not become a millionaire. And today, he accepted that completely. Have enough money not to think about it. He had bus fare. He shut off the thoughts of his massive debts. He gave himself permission to be poor today. Check. On the crowded bus, a heavy, aggressive man shoved his shoulder hard to get past. Yesterday, Mark would have exploded, cursed the man out, and poisoned his own blood with adrenaline for hours. Today, Mark took a slow, deep breath, stepped silently to the side, and looked out the window at the passing grey streets. Inside him, there was an impenetrable, armor-plated silence. His ego was asleep. A calm mind. Check. He arrived at the office. Richard summoned him into his glass-walled office immediately. The contract is gone. You are a useless waste of space. You're fired. Pack your desk, Richard spat, his face red with rage. Mark looked at him. His shoulders were completely relaxed. You are right. I failed. It is my fault. Goodbye, Richard, Mark said in a steady, even tone. No excuses. No begging. No manipulation. Richard, who had braced himself for a screaming match or a pathetic plea, froze. He blinked in sheer confusion, suddenly robbed of all his power. Mark simply turned and walked out. On his way to the elevator, he saw the cleaning lady accidentally drop a stack of papers from the recycling bin. Mark knelt down in silence, gathered the papers, placed them gently in her cart, and nodded to her. She smiled warmly at him. Bring value to the world. Check. As twilight settled over the city, Mark sat in his empty, quiet apartment. He opened his laptop, drafted an email to Sarah, and typed one sentence, I understand why you left. I am sorry for everything, I will not bother you anymore, and I truly wish you happiness. He hit send and closed the laptop. He did not expect her to come back. He was not manipulating her. He was simply giving warmth without demanding a return on investment. Beautiful relationships. Check. He sat in the dark. And suddenly, it happened. A heavy, rusty lock silently clicked open inside his brain. A thick, warm, overwhelmingly powerful wave of dopamine flooded his veins. It was not the toxic, frantic rush of closing a massive deal or buying a luxury car. It was a profound, absolute sense of satisfaction. His mind registered success. He had hit all 5 goals. He had lived one normal day without negativity, without resistance, without fighting reality. He had not become perfect. He had not become rich. But he had become alive. A colossal relief lifted a 1,000-ton concrete block off his chest. The energy he had been desperately seeking wasn't hidden in the future, it was found in surrendering his illusions. Mark stood up, walked over to the wall, and with cold, calm pleasure, ripped the vision board down. The glossy paper tore with a satisfying sound. The yachts, the luxury cars, the fake stacks of money fluttered into the trash can, right where garbage belonged. Tomorrow, he would just repeat this day. But tonight, he went to bed with a slight smile, realizing he stopped being a loser the exact second he stopped trying so desperately to be a winner.